Fact, there are 10 trillion cells in the human body. Fact, 9 out of 10 of those are viruses, bacteria, or some other microorganism. The truth of the matter is the body doesn't belong to the native cells anymore. Because of democracy, the body actually belongs to the new majority population, and as such, we have to, I think, come to accept this. We have to come to accept the course of history that 9 out of every 10 cells are no longer native, and we have to stop giving preference to the native cells. I think this is one of the most common forms of bigotry today. Because we are allowing 10% of the human body to dominate the other 90% of the human body. And it really just makes me so angry. You know what I mean? Because, like, you know how we all bleed red, so we're all the same and there's no difference between us? Well, fact, bacteria have DNA, so do cells. We're all made up of the same ATCG chemicals. And those same chemicals are in bacteria as well as cells, which means they're basically the same thing. There's no difference between them. And you see, what happens is there's a thing called anthroxenophobia, where we give preference to human cells over non-human cells, when those human cells have non-human cells have just as much right to live. So what we're doing is, whenever we take antibiotics, we're committing a genocide, because there's about 10 times as many bacterial cells as there are human cells, and it's like a Holocaust. No, it's worse than the Holocaust. I did the math. That's about 9 to 10 trillion cells that are killed whenever people do antibiotics, and that is 9 million times the number of people who were killed in the Holocaust. So whenever you take antibiotics, it's just like another Shoah. Well, it's like 9 million Shoahs. And this is happening every day. All across the world, people are taking these and killing quintillions of poor innocent bacteria that are just trying to make a living. You see, bacteria require energy to survive. They require the resources of the human body. So they come into the human body and they suck off the nutrients and other things, and they need that to survive, because they can't survive on their own outside of it. Outside of the human body, they would die, and they can't adapt. So because they can't adapt and they're bacteria, so they don't have any agency, we need to have them come in. We need to make our bodies a safe space for bacteria. Because what you're doing is you're being altruistic by letting the bacteria in and not using antibiotics. Like, washing your hand is kind of like what the Nazis did after they, oven people. They put people in the oven, then they'd shovel the ashes, and then they'd wash their hands. And it's kind of similar. It's like another Holocaust whenever this happens. And, I think what we have to keep in mind is, people say, well, bacteria kill the person. Well, that may be true, but that's a small price to pay. I mean, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And if the cells in the body decide that the person has to commit suicide by not taking antibiotics, then that's just kind of the way it goes. And not all bacteria are harmful. There are some bacteria that live in the gut, which help digestion. So because some bacteria are beneficial for society, that means we can't have this preconceived notion that bacteria or even we'll get to virus rights. We're just going to start with bacterial rights, but I feel the course of history will catch up to us, and eventually we will get to virus rights. We don't have them yet, but it's kind of like with gay marriage and transsexuals. We got the gay marriage first, so we'll get the bacterial rights, and then we'll get the viral rights, and then we might have to work on phage and prion rights, but that's down the line. We need a Martin Luther phage to come along and stop that. Then again, phages eat viruses, so they're kind of like the SS of the biological world, because they work with kind of the prevailing superpower, which is the human body, to kill minorities. Well, they are, and they are minorities, even though they're the majority, because it's all about power. And the fact that the humans have the ability to kill, indiscriminately murder bacteria through a form of basically state terrorism, well, that just shows who really has the balance of power. Like I said, we have 1 trillion cells ruling over another 10 trillion cells. It's kind of like apartheid. It's apartheid on the human body form. Because you had this like white minority that was 10% of the population ruling over a 90% black population. And that's kind of the case of the human body. You have a 10% human cell population ruling over a 90% bacterial and viral population. And it's just something that's got to stop. I am calling for an immediate ban on all antibiotics, all antivirals, any form of disinfectant. We have to open our doors to bacteria. We have to be altruistic. We have to be caring. I mean, it's 2016. We still have antibiotics. It's a disgrace. Shame, shame. Um, so that's kind of my thoughts on the matter. Um, Jeez, guys, I'm just so angry about this. This is Argent signing out.